Welcome to Vegas Circle with Paki and Chris, and today, joining the circle, we're excited to welcome back Blake Wynn to discuss his rebrand with B Wynn Sports to now Enclave Key. Thanks for joining the circle, Blake. Good to see you again, man.
And thank you for having me on again. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, what's going on, Blake? It's definitely good to see you. Missed you since last time.
I know, man. I mean, even just seeing you guys in person, I mean, I miss it. Everything's been so crazy the last few months.
Yeah, man, how you been staying focused with COVID and doing this whole pivot the last, 7-8 months?
I mean, for me, staying focused has been pretty simple, really, because if you think about it, I mean, the number one thing that's really been eliminated by coronavirus, I mean, yes, there's obstacles in operating a business, but really distractions are the main thing that have been eliminated. I mean, you look at it and you see nightlife is done and traveling is more or less done right now. And, going to different events and things is kind of, taking a back seat. And so, I mean, for me, it's really been all work. And so it's been a very unique few months, but it's been fantastic for the business.
Yeah, you've just excelled like crazy, man. And for our listeners that don't know Blake, huge social media following. We had him back about a year and a half ago, June of 2019. We had him on the show in our studio. He's done some amazing things with the shoe world and influence marketing. Chris and I have known him for a while, and they're doing some huge things with their new company. When did you get in business for yourself? And I know you started as an influencer, but when did you kind of officially, get in business for yourself and you weren't working for anybody else?
To an extent, when I was an influencer, you more or less are doing it for yourself. You influence for brands, in the form of brand deals and things like that. And so I never really looked at it like I was working for those companies. I more so looked at it as honestly like collaborations. But in terms of post-influencer career, I would say 2018 mainly, when we started B Wynn Sports. I was a freshman in college at the time at Fordham University. And I had this idea of solving a problem, which was that 88% of all professional athletes, mainly NFL, were going broke within 36 months of retiring. And I thought to myself, this is so bizarre. Like, how is this happening when you're talking about people that are beyond top 1% earners? I mean, people that are earning millions of dollars a year are then left with nothing 36 months later. How is this happening? And so I realized, number one, they weren't leveraging all the possibilities that they had for themselves in terms of earning money beyond just the contract they had with the team. The second part of that was financial literacy. So I FaceTimed a good buddy of mine named 𝚐𝚘𝚅, who you guys have now met.
Yeah, Hayes, yep.
And, explained this whole idea to him of let's fix these problems. And so that was more or less what B Wynn Sports was. It was basically the bridging gap between brands and professional athletes in terms of monetizing them in the form of endorsement deals on their social media appearances and things like that. And then on the back end, we, work with, Merrill Lynch and all these different financial planners and things like that to really kind of navigate them through, okay, now you have millions of dollars. You've probably never had much money before in your life. How do you manage it? How can you be responsible with it and things like that? That was the main focus for the first year and a half. And then it really started taking on a life of its own, which is more or less what led to the, pivot or whatever you want to call it from B Wynn Sports to Enclave Key. We went from just solving this small, niche problem, which we do still solve for all of our clients. Granted, we've only been around 2 years, but we've never had a client go broke. And more importantly, every client is on a trajectory to never end up in that category. In fact, we have enough clients that because of that change, that stat will be coming down, year by year, even just simply as a result of our clients, as long as essentially other players don't make up for that, which more or less is not mathematically possible. And so, we've solved that problem. And now it was, all right, well, there's more problems that need to be solved, and there's more problems that can be solved through marketing. And so that was more or less the thought process behind it. And as well, we expanded what we offer as a company, and our team increased tremendously. A year and a half ago, I think we probably only had, 5 or 6 people. We have 19 now, and many of those have actually started during coronavirus, which has been fantastic. It's really been a very unique business where we've kind of just waded through the waters of what's going on in the world right now. And, I think we're able to do so because really, more or less, we're just solving problems.
Yeah, you seem like a very intelligent guy, and you obviously have wisdom, I guess, beyond your years. And you seem to have like a general experience that comes from understanding business. How important was like your college education and, turning that into, your business success?
It's so funny you say that because for me, college was basically nothing but a roadblock. I mean, out of everything I can give credit to for where I am today, and there's many, many things. I got family, my preschool to high school career, I would say is part of that. My friends, my team, everything like that. college is the one that I'm like, that was just in the way. I mean, I went to Fordham for my freshman year, and it was great in terms of it moved me out of my mom's house where I, lived as a child, moved me to New York, exposed me to a lot of new things. I ended up doing a lot for my business in New York, which was a factor, I suppose, of going to college there. But beyond that, it was really just an obstacle.
We talk about that so much about college education, especially what the cost is right now. It's just unbelievable. But what's funny is you actually do it every day by building your business. You're literally building it versus getting philosophy a lot of times, or being taught a philosophy,
And this is what drove me crazy about college, and even about the college system now, even though I'm not a part of it, is the fact that in a lot of cases, even a school like Fordham, which it's not a Harvard, but it's not, a community college. It's a solid school. And I didn't feel like I was being taught by people who were qualified to teach me. That's not me saying that I felt like I was better than them in any way. I don't think I was. I was there to learn. But the thing is I was like, well, you're teaching me. I was majoring in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I was not learning entrepreneurship from entrepreneurs. And as someone who did grow up around entrepreneurship, largely with my uncle and just with, family friends and the connections that I made through YouTube, I mean, everybody in my life was an entrepreneur. And so I saw what entrepreneurship was. And then I went to college and I heard what entrepreneurship was. And I thought to myself, okay, these two things don't line up. Like, everyone sitting next to me, if you guys listen to this, like, with all due respect, I don't know how you're going to be successful in starting your own business, because you're learning like how to read a balance sheet and how to do, and don't get me wrong, you have to know how to do those things.
Yeah.
You don't need to pay 70 grand a year to learn those things. You can spend 30 minutes on your laptop at a late night and learn those things, right? So what are you really there for? What are you actually learning? And to me, the only way truly to learn entrepreneurship, I think number one, I think a certain level of entrepreneurship has to be baked into your DNA. What I mean, not as in you come from a family that's an entrepreneur or has an entrepreneur in it, but you have this knack to live a bit uncomfortably, right? Like, when you look at an entrepreneur from the outside looking in, it looks like it's been glorified to almost a celebrity these days. I mean, it's kind of bizarre, where it's like, really, that's how you look at someone who works 20 hours a day and doesn't make a lot of money at first, and all these different things. And so I think you have to be able to live a bit uncomfortably, whether it's financially, whether it's with an element of uncertainty, whether it's knowing you're financially responsible for basically strangers, right? Like, a lot of our employees, I didn't know them prior to them coming in for their interview. And now, more or less, we're financially responsible for them, right? And as the sole owner of the company, I'm more or less responsible for them, right? In theory, right? And so that's where it becomes, all right, how are you going to learn any of that from a teacher who hasn't done it themselves, who's standing there telling you about the balance sheet thing? It's like, okay, now what? You're not learning any of the X factors of entrepreneurship, I guess is a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
And the only way to be a successful entrepreneur is to nail a lot of different X factors.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. And it seems like, education is really a frontier that needs to be disrupted. And it's almost like your generation, or, the new generations up and coming, are the ones that are going to do that by finding these alternative forms of education, by finding these, I read like the Google's rolling out these educational almost colleges and things similar to that are geared more towards those experiences. And, it's really interesting that you say that, because it does seem to be a very important next step in just, overall education of the people that are, trying to go into the real world to make money.
It's just, I mean, at the end of the day, colleges, what people aren't thinking about is that colleges are businesses, right? Like, these are not nonprofits. Like, these are for-profit businesses that are charging a ridiculous amount of money because you're willing to pay for the perceived value that you're going to get. The only guarantee of something that you're going to get, and it's not even truly a guarantee, but in theory, the only guarantee you will get if you properly do college is that you will get that piece of paper at the end of it. That piece of paper may help you get a job, or if it's someone like myself hiring, I could care less where you have a piece of paper from and how you got it and how long it took and what university it says. I mean, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, or, any of those stereotypical, like, you have to go to college jobs, like, I get it. But having a piece of paper, Elon Musk says it great, right? He says it's basically just proof that you could do your chores for 4 straight years without your parents' supervision. and truthfully, I mean, that in itself is a value. Like, I get that. But beyond that, right, like, 4 years of work experience compared to 4 years of that, I can tell you personally, I would hire 4 years of experience over 4 years in a college, no matter what, because I see what my high school friends and things like that, and and nothing against it, but they're partying, they're having a good time, and they go to sports games. I mean, like, the actual learning is secondary, if not tertiary, or even farther down the list for the people that I know in colleges. And these are kids in great colleges from the same high school that I went to. And I think to myself, I mean, this is what a company is supposed to pay 10 times more for, because you somehow got into the school that your parents donated to get you into, or whatever it may be. I mean, how are you even at that school? I mean, there's so many problems with the college system. I mean, there's problems with the education system, but college in particular, I mean, truly, it's just a business model that needs to just be shattered. And not by giving everyone free college, but by changing what college is.
What they're teaching. Yeah, you hit on a bunch of times. I went to college, and I feel you 100% on what you're saying, because you're paying the loans back. I literally just paid my loans back a couple of years ago. You're 100% right that learning
Unbelievable.
and doing versus strategy and all this other stuff, it's kind of a waste. But
one of the questions, I didn't go.
Man, it's no joke. Yeah. One question I had to ask you is kind of like a two-part question. You guys have expanded. I've been to your office before, and I know you guys have expanded since then into a bigger office. How do you kind of choose your team on who you want to work with, and kind of how you want to grow your team?
It's funny. We talk about it all the time. The kind of business that we have makes no sense on paper. It's a lot of really young people, a lot of people who have not gone to college or have not graduated from college. And we've come together and more or less self-deemed ourselves as marketing experts, but 100% backed that up with action. And that, to me, is where it becomes okay. I think that in general, if you're able to find individuals who, as an entrepreneur, I can say this myself, if I'm able to find people that believe in my vision in such a manner that it becomes their vision as well, that is an unbelievably powerful thing. Number one, regardless of their age or credentials on paper or anything like that. Number two, you think to yourself, okay, so I'm going to need these different roles. I'm going to need a director of business development. I'm going to need a COO. I'm going to need a CFO. I'm going to need, right? And certain things like a CFO, I'm going to get a college graduate, right? Like, we don't have a CFO yet. We simply just have an accounting team right now. Every one of them has a college degree, obviously, but right, like something like that. Okay, you need a degree. But COO, I thought to myself, do I want someone who makes a lot of sense on paper, or do I want someone who's the same age as me, who is going to be able to be here for 60 years? Because if I go hire a 50-year-old COO, they're done in 15 years, and that may rattle the entire makeup of my company. Whereas if they're the same age as me, or we're going to retire at the same time, and at the same time, they were also there from the first day, right? And there's that sense of like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. They're loyal to me. I'm loyal to them. They gave me a job that I might not have been qualified for. And in turn, I'm going to do a job at a level that is totally unexpected based on my qualifications, and both sides are able to win in that way. And so, truthfully, I've never read a resume in my life. I'm not saying that we don't ask for resumes and people apply and things like that.
It's a lie on the resume,
but I don't read it.
Yeah,
I don't, because if I sit across from you for 30 minutes and I'm under the impression that you would be a part of our family, I'll at least give you the chance. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm not going to sit here and say that we've never had a person not work out, but we've done a fantastic job of putting together a really, really solid team. And, you come in and you could be there for 30 minutes in our office. You'd feel like part of the family.
I've 100% experienced that, man. Shout out to Brock too, man. I mean, you guys got a great energy in your office. Everybody's got, I've been to some of your events that you guys have had. It's great energy. And I'm not just saying that. It's the straight up truth. And one of the things I had to ask, I mean, for our listeners, guys, I mean, you got to understand, Enclave Key, they work with a lot of people. I mean, they're working with models, they're working with, professional athletes. I mean, they're working with entrepreneurs, actors, the whole nine. How do you choose who you want to work with? Because you guys have got a big bandwidth now.
On the talent side?
Yeah, on the talent side, yeah. How do you choose who you guys want to partner with?
So there's so many nuances to it. I mean, to give you kind of a few of them, on the athlete side, we now, 𝚘𝚘𝚊𝚢, who I started the company with, has now retired from the NFL and has become our in-house president of athlete marketing. He works at the company full time, and he basically recruits all of our athletes. And more importantly, what people don't realize is, truthfully, we could go recruit every person on the face of the planet to be talent. But could we have strong relationships with all those people? The answer is no. And so the question boils down to, all right, well, who can we create strong relationships with? right? Hayes does a great job on the athlete side, and I obviously have a lot of those relationships as well. And we've started doing is not each of the whole 19, but about 8 of the people that we have become individual talent managers for these people. And so as they strengthen those relationships, now it's at the point where we'll go to a dinner with, talent A, and she will say, hey, I've got 3 friends. Here's their profiles. They would be fantastic for this. Let me call them right now. Let's have them come to this dinner so they can meet you guys, and I want them to be a part of this. And so truthfully, the way that we're expanding is just solely off of really like the merits of what we do at the end of the day, because the relationships are strong. The process is easy for them. It's financially lucrative, and we don't really ask for anything. It's very easy to say, hey, we'll bring you brand deals. Okay, so what do you guys take? Nothing. Because the companies are our clients. In terms of what's actually on our balance sheet, the companies are our clients. The talent is one of the things that we have in-house totally. So we don't go to marketing agencies and things, or talent agencies and modeling agencies. It's all in-house. They're all signed to us, and for some of them, we do heavier management. And so there is potential compensation there. But beyond that, we're basically saying, hey, you want brand deals for free? And truthfully, I'm not even just saying this, there is no business that offers that to talent. Like, we are the only one that does that. So it is a really unique value proposition.
I got to give you guys your props on it, because you're cutting out the middleman. You're cutting out the middleman, you're cutting out all of the extra services and this percentage and all of that. And that's what I was so impressed with you guys, a year and a half ago, was I said, damn, man, they really have figured out a way, and they've got the talent to be able to do it. And shout out to Hayes, man. Hayes is a great dude, man. Great dude, knows how to build, network and the whole dice. I can see how you guys work well together with Brock and the whole team. Just to kind of transition a little bit, I got to ask you, because with your social media and your influence background, did you watch The Social Dilemma?
It's so funny. I get asked this all the time. I've actually refused to watch it.
How come?
Mom has watched it and given me a very in-depth synopsis. I've had lots of people say, you have to watch this. They've told me about it. I could almost tell you what this thing's about, and I haven't even seen it yet. The reason I haven't seen it is because I think that, and this is based on the way it's been described to me and based on the reactions that I've seen, it's made it sound like it's a negative thing to be on your phone a lot. And I buy into that hypothesis, but at the same time, at the end of the day, the reality is the reality. People are on their phones a lot, and this documentary is not going to change that. And so rather than sit here and almost talk myself into why this shouldn't be happening, I'd rather just focus on the fact that it is happening, like it or not. And it's not going to change. If anything, it's going to keep getting worse. You're going to spend 14 hours a day on your screen by the time, you're in your 70s. Maybe not you literally, but 30 years from now, people are going to spend 14 hours on a screen. People's eyes could end up being screens for all we know. With glasses could have screens in them. You really don't know what's going to happen. And I can tell you, technology is not going away. And so to be worried about it, it's important to know about it, and it's important to, at least be self-aware enough to know, what, I am spending a crap ton of time doing this. And if this is a problem in my own life, I should change this. But I look at it and I couldn't tell you what my screen times are, but I can tell you I'm happy in life. And so if my screen times are too high on paper or in somebody else's opinion, all right.
It's funny you said that, because now my my iPhone just started recently showing my screen times out of nowhere, and I started getting a little embarrassed in myself. I was like, I did not realize I spent that much time on it. Exactly. I shouldn't be, because most of the time on there, I'm working, I'm doing something, I'm checking in with family, I'm checking in with, things like that. And those aren't all negatives, but they portray it as being such a negative thought. And it really isn't.
And the one thing I'll add to that is truthfully, I think the timing of this doc, I should see it to properly contextualize my answer, but just based on the premise, I think the timing of which it was released was absolutely just unfair, truthfully. Because I think anyone that is really affected by that, well, no kidding, your screen times are up. You've been told to stay home since March 15th. What, are you supposed to stare at the wall? Are you supposed to take up reading? And if you do take up reading and you do take up staring, fine. But if you start looking at TikTok more now because you're bored, and you realize that 100% of your business funnels through your phone now instead of maybe 45%, the numbers being increased, that's natural.
Yeah. No, that's right. It's all business play. Just like with Jordan's documentary that he came out with, it's all power play. People
and that was fantastic.
It's unbelievable. Shout out to Matt Maxon. You know, we have Matt Maxon on, one of the producers of that show. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I did.
good dude. Yeah. So one question I got to have for you, for perspective on branding, right? Because you understand the business on that side. What have you kind of seen the channels from perspective between like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok? Like, how do you see people branding themselves on each, what I call TV now, right? Each one is like its own TV station because they're looked at differently. How do you look at it?
Are you talking about as in a personal brand?
As a personal brand, sorry, not as business brand, but personal brand.
What I've noticed is, even like, I'll explain it first in the context of myself. When I was starting to become an influencer, being an influencer was not at all what it is now. Being an influencer was not a job. Like, it would almost be like calling yourself a comedian and not actually doing stand-up. Like, no one knew what that meant. That was not a thing. Like, companies didn't use influencers. They used celebrities, right? Like, influencer marketing didn't even really exist in 2015, 2016. So as I became an influencer, I wasn't looking at it like, oh, I'm going to try to become famous because that'll snowball to 15 different things. It was like, I'm going to post videos on YouTube because I want to market my sneaker reselling business. Like, that's what it was. What I've noticed is, and many of the influencers that I more or less grew up with in terms of other influencers growing at the same time I noticed it was pretty much the same thing for them. They took whatever they were really passionate about, they made content out of it, and that was it. Now being an influencer is so publicly lucrative that what you have is, you have people trying to become an influencer as more or less a fast track to become an entrepreneur with less need for business knowledge. And so what I've found is, when I started, a year into starting, I went on tour and I started coming out with merchandise, and I started doing other little things that made it from Blake the influencer to Just Win the overall business. And it wasn't this massively scaled business, but I added those other, revenue streams and components to the business, as did everybody else. Now what you have is people trying to blow up in 3 to 5 months. And then the only reason they're doing that is so that way they can start a business. And the business that they're trying to start a lot of times is merch, because that's the blueprint. The thing is, though, is we didn't start a business like, oh, let's get popular so we can sell our name on a t-shirt. That was a byproduct of what we did. And so what's really happening now is the people trying to build personal brands, instead of building the brand and reaping the benefits of the byproduct, they're building a personal brand for the sake of the byproduct. So it's not really a byproduct, it's the goal. And they're not doing the proper things to get there. They're making it very much so like, I'm about to be famous, I'm going to start this business, as opposed to, I'm just a genuinely passionate person about X. And if that leads to something that is monetizable, I will take advantage of that. Otherwise, I'm doing this out of passion. And that's not what's happening anymore. And so really, with the exception of these TikTok kids, no personal brands that notably have come up in the last 14 months. Like, when you really think about it, like, you have your Gary V's, your Nick Stantonistasios, right? You got your people that have just killed it for a while.
Of course.
And then you've got like the Bryce Hall, the 𝚘 𝚘𝚅𝚘𝚘, like this little group of TikTokers who have just become so famous in the last 12 months, largely as a result of coronavirus, that they're killing it. And they're making like literally millions and tens of millions each. But everyone in between, and there's literally millions of people in between, they're not getting anywhere. And it's interesting because, and this has never happened before, where there's not emerging people, right? You kind of went from Jake Paul and Logan Paul on the YouTube side to, there were some other YouTubers that came up that got really big. Like, there was a guy named Mr. Beast who got real big real quick. And, there's a nice flow of people coming from here and getting to here quickly. In the last 12 months, besides TikTok, you don't have that. And so it's interesting. I think that quarantine has really made people sell themselves short. I mean, they're selling their passion short in hopes of earning extra money, really. I mean, it all boils down to just the pursuit of the dollar.
Yeah, that's kind of, you touched on it. How much time do you personally spend now doing those things that you originally got passionate about, like focusing on your shoes, focusing on your YouTube channel, those type of things? Or is that totally a byproduct now?
For me, I mean, truthfully, I would say Enclave Key is a byproduct of my YouTube channel. That's how I met a lot of these influencers. That's how I began to understand marketing, was I was doing and I was touching and I was, like, that was kind of what did it. So for me, I think basically for the rest of my life, everything will be a byproduct of the last thing that I did. And the reason for that is because, as I said last time I was on the show, number one, I truthfully, like, I don't care that much about money. Like, I've been very fortunate in my life that I started my first business when I was 11. I paid my taxes for the first time when I was 12. Like, I've just always kind of made money as a byproduct of what I was passionate about. And so that hasn't been my focus. And so as a result, I've always really focused on, like, truthfully, how do we become the best at what we're offering? And so when it was B Wynn Sports, I felt like we were the best at what we did for athletes and what we did for the brands with those athletes. Then it became, I think we can be the best at a lot more than this. But rather than in 2018 just having said, I'm going to start this full service marketing agency, we're going to do press and ad campaigns and athletes, and we're going to do every possible thing a company needs on marketing side. I didn't. I said, I want to be the best at this. Once we became the best at that, I said, okay, we have opportunity now. Natural, good faith opportunity where as the company's grown, we have, the finances to expand, the connections to expand, the resources, the offerings, everything we have kind of lined up. Now let's take that step. And so the Enclave Key was literally, as you said, like a byproduct of B Wynn Sports.
You hit on so many different keys because you said it. You're not doing it for money. You did it for the passion that has exploded.
Right. My passion now is marketing small businesses. Like, basically my day-to-day right now for people that are like, what does the CEO of a marketing agency look like? I mean, it's changed so much over the years, but now it's a lot of traveling. It's a lot of client management relationship. Like, a lot of people, like, we have our lead generation team and we have those people. And a lot of times the leads are like, well, can I talk to Blake? And they're like, you can't, because I'm 100% focused on our clients, because I look at it like the business is going to come in. That's why we have a whole team. And as the business comes in, you've got 100% of me. But if it's not in, you don't have me, because I owe 100% of me to this. And I love doing this. I love being on these different red eyes and going different places, and meeting people that, whether it be a client that we're negotiating business deals in different places. I was on we're actually, I guess it'll be the first time I more or less announce it. We're actually, I would say 80% opening up offices in Dubai next year in 2021.
Shout out to that, man. That's what's up.
Yeah. We've been
good.
doing some business over there. And so that's been great. And so it's been fun. It's seeing the world through the lens of your own business, which for me, as the person who more or less, like, this wasn't even, truthfully, this wasn't my vision when I started this in 2018. My vision was these athletes aren't going to go broke. And now it's these athletes aren't going to go broke. But on top of that, in 2019, with over 40 companies that we do the marketing for, none of them have experienced less revenue than what they had in 2019 at the worst. The worst one has matched their 2019 numbers in 2020 during Corona. And so from a marketing agency's perspective, that takes a lot of work, which takes a lot of my time personally, but I love doing it. It's like, this is amazing, because now it's like we're impacting the athletes positively, but then you're impacting these small businesses positively. Every single small business has yet to have to lay anyone off, and all of them have hired someone since March 15th. So we're working with companies that, with our help, not as a result of us, I don't think that's fair to say, but with our help, they have been able to, do these things, and we've been partially responsible for that. And that's cool. Kids that their friends, may be talking about how, I saw this meme on Twitter that said Santa got COVID, and parents are going to have to tell their kids this shit.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Times are hard right now. And
Yep.
when you look at our clients and our athletes and everyone who's more or less in this Enclave Key bubble, there's going to be a lot of great Christmases. And that's really, really cool to me at 20 to be able to be even just a small part of why that's the case.
It's winning, man. You got that winning mentality, man. And that's what it's all about. You got that winning mentality. It's like one of the first things I had asked you, a year and a half ago is, you're like, man, what else is there to do? You know what I mean? We gotta run with it, man. So that's powerful, man. Let me ask you this, because we asked you before, since your favorite restaurant, Yoji, shut down, what's your favorite restaurant now? Because I was mad at you, man. I literally would go in there with my wife, and the freaking place was closed. So, Joe Coy, I'm gonna beat you up, man.
When I saw it was closed, I seriously, I just had a meltdown. I was so upset. They have one in Los Angeles, which I haven't been to yet. I don't know if it's still open or not. So truthfully, In-N-Out.
Okay, In-N-Out. There we go.
That's what I've been having. I've been having it a lot. I've been having In-N-Out a lot. I've been cooking a lot. There's good restaurants, but what can you even go to?
Yeah, it's fast. It is fast with your lifestyle. You need time, so that makes sense.
I will say if you're talking about a nice place, you're going out on the Strip, Lago by Julian Serrano.
Yeah.
Julian does a fantastic job with that restaurant. The food is always fantastic. You always get just a beautiful atmosphere. You're right there on the Bellagio fountains. I mean, Julian, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. I mean, you do fantastic. And yeah, I mean, Lago, all those Julian restaurants. I mean, Tapas at Cosmo. I mean, or Aria or Cosmo, whichever one it's at. I mean, he does great.
Good stuff, man. Those are two good restaurants for sure. So what else is on your radar? Because you're such a visionary, man. What's kind of the next, let's say, year to 5 years? What's that look like?
We will be expanding to have, when I say offices, more or less bases in London and Dubai, possibly New York as well. So we're expanding internationally. So we're adding soccer to our roster on the athlete side. We're going to be adding, international influencers and things of that nature. The project in Dubai is a pretty big one. I can only talk so much about it, but that's going to be something that even if you're not familiar with me as a YouTuber or with the company, the activation, we can call it, will be something that everyone in the world may become privy to over the course of the next few years, which is really exciting. On a personal level, I talked a lot about and kind of have still been talking a lot about running for mayor this next election here in Las Vegas.
I was waiting for you to say it, man. That's good stuff, man. I don't want to ask you, so I know. Yeah.
No, I know. I mean, I get asked a lot. I mean, I will say there's a couple things that would make me back off of it. And I don't even really mind sharing those things. Number one would be who else is running for mayor. I know of someone in my close circle who is also considering it. And if that person was to run, I would be such an endorser of that person that I would have no need to run. Because I think that many of the things that I would want to do would be done by that individual. And I think that individual would be, he's so overqualified for it that I think if he was willing to be mayor, I would be lucky as a resident of this city to have him as such. And I think it's a mutual friend we both have.
Yeah.
If it's not him, truthfully, it would really boil down to who the governor is, because if the governor is someone who has political beliefs that are far different than mine, it wouldn't make sense for me to become mayor, only because I wouldn't be able to get done the things that I'd want to get done. And so I would campaign on the back of, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, except with how politics actually work, I wouldn't be able to do many of those things. And the things that I would be able to do, I don't think would be more beneficial than at that point staying within the confines of my business. So I may wait until I can make a little bit of a bigger run like governor, maybe even something a little bit bigger than that. But I can tell you, unless something happens to me, knock on wood, I will run and hopefully be in somewhat major political office at some point in the next 16 years.
It's going to happen, man.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You motivated, man. That's what me and Chris and I talked about when we went to dinner a while back. You motivated, man, and you focused. And you don't get caught up in the BS, man, at your young age, which a lot of people get distracted with. And I'm just impressed with it. I got to give you your applause because it's awesome that you've been able to do that.
And your intentions are good, too, which is also really important. You're a person who's genuine and actually wants to do good for the sake of doing good, not just for personal benefit.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you. And, yeah, I mean, even just going to the kind of tying the whole thing together, I mean, a big thing for me is fixing the education system. I mean, and there's parts of that are curriculum, part of that's our funding. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces to why education needs help. But in the context of this state, I mean, you look at Las Vegas and you see the way that we're growing. I mean, our population grows, more or less the GDP of the city, if you will, is constantly growing. We're getting sports teams. I mean, we're becoming a major market city. And we have the 50th public education. We are dead last.
Literally every year, yeah.
I mean, that to me is, if the Nevada government was an equation and you tried to balance that equation by putting all the variables there, you would see education at last and be like, wait, no, you did something wrong. That's not right. It's like, no, that's actually the case. I mean, it does not make sense to me.
With all the billions of dollars that run through here, man, it's unbelievable. That's why, I'm going to say it here first. If you run, man, I'm vote for you. And if the other person runs, I'm vote for them too, because I know.
Yeah,
I know
we'll be on the same page then.
yeah. That's good stuff, man. Where can people find you at, man? If they wanted to reach out to Enclave Key, they want to see your handles, how can they reach you?
Well, myself personally, on Instagram, it's @just_win. If you want to just check out the business, you can go to enclavekey.com. You can find all information about the business on there. You can see who we work with, the companies, the talent, everything like that, what we offer. And just as well, you connect with me on LinkedIn.
Good
just my
stuff,
name,
man.
Blake Wynn.
Good stuff, man. And one thing I got to say, man, is, man, Vegas lost a huge visionary with Tony Hsieh. And we just got to give a shout out to Tony Hsieh.
Tony Hsieh died?
Yes. Tony Hsieh just passed away. So we want to, I don't know if you knew that, man, but yeah, he passed away.
When?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
3 days ago?
Yeah, a couple days ago. So it's freaking
you guys
believable.
gave me chills. I
know. Yep.
I saw Tony. Oh, God. I think I saw Tony last October was the last time I saw him. Oh, that's just sick. No way.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, man. So, I mean, losing him with, the impact that he had with Zappos and building downtown and just the positive energy that he had. I've never met him before, but I've been to Zappos, and, man, it's just a sad situation, 46 years old. So our condolences from Vegas Circle to the family. We just wanted to put that out there. Just wow, once it happened, me and Chris were talking. So it's unbelievable. So
wow.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Obviously, prayers out to Tony's family and everyone at Zappos and everyone. I mean, he's touched so many lives. You can't even count it. I mean, if I can tell you one thing, if it wasn't coronavirus right now, he would have. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jackie Gone, but when Jackie Gone died, or when my grandmother died, Zelma Wynn, when she died, thousands and thousands of people at the funeral. I mean, that's what Tony's would be like if he was. I assume he's probably not having something like that, but I mean, the amount of people that have been crossed in his life in some capacity, I mean, I can't even imagine. Oh, that's just terrible.
Yes, unbelievable, man. So definitely, we didn't want to end on a negative note. We wanted to definitely just give our condolences to his family and obviously just what he's meant to us, being in Vegas. He's just a staple here and a visionary here. So we wanted to at least just say that and end on that. But Blake, man, we appreciate your time, man.
Yeah,
you gave
definitely, Blake. That was
some gems, man. You gave some gems.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Yep, no doubt, man. So we appreciate you hanging out, and you'll be able to see us at thevegascircle.com. So thanks, man.